Temptation is expensive. Yes, sir. So I was thinking every time I've fallen into temptation, it's actually cost me a lot more than I was willing to lose, or that I should have lost, because like everything, it's a currency. And temptation in many aspects and areas of life is costly. And it's not cheap. It's not cheap when you're losing out on opportunities. You're losing out on, well, pretty much sacrificing your future for that one little bit of pleasure. You're pretty much gambling with your discipline as a human being, not even just as a man, if I'm talking man to man, but as a human being. And this, the funny thing about this is that it falls into so many endeavors of life. And your future really depends on it's like those little moments, they kind of stack up and they become bigger moments. Like, one day you're like, all right, I'll give in. One time won't hurt. And then one time turns into two, three, four, five, however many times. We've all been there. And those little moments, you look back and a period of time passes by, and you look back and you're like, damn, like, yo, what did I do? Like, how did I get here? And it ends up just being like you dig yourself in a hole, and you're like, yo, how am I gonna get out of here? And sometimes those holes that we dig ourselves into, and those chains that we tie onto our, that we like those chains that we put on our wrists, they become too heavy to drag. It becomes a weight. It becomes it becomes a vice. But you know, but that's the cost of giving into temptation. And that's been heavy on my heart, because man, temptation is something I struggled with for so many years, and it's something I still do struggle with because I'm a human being and whatnot. And I'm always gonna struggle with temptation. you know every Everybody gets tempted. Doesn't matter what status they have in the world. you know you can think back to historical figures. You've read about rises and falls, and it's a lot of times due to temptation and a lack of self-control and self-discipline. But we all deal with that to a certain extent. It's just up to us to not die on that hill, or per se, or to live to see another day, and ignore whatever it is that we wrestle with, because we are flesh and we are blood, and we're not perfect, and we're put in this earth to fight battles. It's physical and excuse me, it's physical and spiritual battles, but they really are spiritual battles. Um, Temptation causes delays. I can't tell you how many times I've been so close to a breakthrough, and I've gotten said breakthrough, but it's like, damn son, like I could have got that breakthrough, um, you know, years prior, months prior, and I find myself going around the same mountain because I'm a stubborn person. Yo, and it straight up causes delays, like even like literally like inconveniences. There's been so many times where it's like, dude, if I was just more disciplined in this area of my life, not even to get into anything specific, just in general, but if I was like disciplined in this area of my life, I wouldn't have seen those delays, and I would have had breakthroughs, and I would have made progress. And usually for me, it's like in creative like uh with creative projects, and like making, I like making music and stuff like that. And dude, if I had just sat down and like learn to like use a program, or like learn to play these kind of chords, or this kind of chord progression, or this scale, and it could be applied to so many other things. But it's like if I just took the time to just do that, I would have seen so much more progress. But instead, it caused a delay. And then lastly, like temptation causes a real separation. It causes a separation from the man you are right now, right? The man you are looking into the mirror in the bathroom, the mirror in your car, in your rear view mirror. You're looking at yourself in the eyes, and you have to look at that person every day because that's who you are. You're here in the physical, right? But that causes a separation from you right now in this body, in this flesh suit, and the person you're called to be. There's this man, there's this person here, and then there's the person that you're supposed to be. Or some others would say, God, who God has intended for you. Some people say your higher self. There's a separation, right? There's the man you're working towards becoming, and you're supposed to be connected to that vision. You're supposed to keep your eyes at the center of that, or else you're gonna sink. But then temptation causes a separation, and it causes delays, and it's expensive. So the next time you think about giving in to temptation, ask yourself, do you really have enough to afford that?